idea that's negative, that's when we tend to take it serious. Vote buying has been there for a while, but it's good that INEC has now decided to make it an issue, a big issue at that. The funny thing is, I didn't. Okay, well, I'm not from Ekiti, so I didn't know what happened there. But I was always asking myself, how would they know? But it appears that the party agents would accompany the voters. Right there, and then they will be with you. You vote and show them where you voted, and then you come out and receive your pay.
Okay, well, here's something that's a big for me. But the voting, you already have some sort of division demarcation, where you really ought not to be able to look over. So I really don't understand what this story is getting at, what new thing they're doing necessarily. Cheta, you wanna?
What happened in Ekiti was it was a cash and carry thing. You go in, you vote, you thumbprint, you have, and then before you put it in, you step outside and they'll confirm. So you've already, it's indelible.
Away from the polling booth, that perhaps you shouldn't be able to do that. Is
maybe they'll feel out. We've legitimized vote buying, but my own thinking has evolved a bit. I think it's a good thing actually. So
I look at it as a good thing only to the extent that it appears they now believe in the voters, because before now we've always said whichever way we vote, it doesn't matter, because they will still end up
doing the figures. So as they keep trying to spend to get the voters, the thing becomes so expensive, and people have to think new things, new ideas.
Okay. Keep them on their toes. Don't make it easy. The
other part of the story, which is the one about continued voters registration, they said we should. They have 1,985 days to the elections. Because of that, they do not intend to extend the August 17th deadline for registration. So please, if you have not collected your PVC, one, if you've not registered, two, if you've not collected your PVC, please go and do that now. For those who are yet to register, you have.
Is it?
I was going to say that the days are wrong. It needs to. I'm sure it's maybe 198 days.
Okay,
because
I have here one.
I know that's completely wrong.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So well, you have between now and August 17th to go and register.
3 days.
Yes. So this is the last week actually for your voters registration.
They've promised that they have functional machines. They have enough manpower and enough materials for registration. If that is true, they go and vote. Go and collect your go and register. I've done mine. I believe Cheta did a long time ago too. That's.
But what I find particularly interesting is this note of what they're going to do with uncollected PVCs, where they talk about intending to photocopy these PVCs and paste them for public viewing. Now that's a very interesting approach.
It is. I think when I saw it, it's a good thing, because I understand in some states you have as much as hundreds of thousands yet to be collected.
Yes.
That's not good. There's no point doing it. Even if you don't want to vote, go and collect it. Maybe you need it for identification or something.
Who knows?
Go and
you never know. It's a good ATM.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's move on real quick. So our second story, this one also to you, Orji. It says, finally, National Assembly reconvenes on Wednesday. And this comes from ThisDay newspaper. So just to give you a quick background and insight into the story, the National Assembly, which has been on recess since Tuesday, July 24th, 2018, is reconvened on Wednesday to consider some executive communications before it, including the 2018 Supplementary Appropriation Bill containing estimates for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to conduct the 2019 elections. I don't know. I think this is the news we've been waiting for a while now.
Well, I haven't been waiting for the news for a while, but it's good they've decided to reconvene. Last week was an interesting one, very much when we had this, the way this story was on the front burners. The important thing is that those from the APC were hell-bent on having the House reconvened, while those from the PDP said there's no point, there's no hurry. And you remember that the reason given by those who wanted the House to reconvene were budgets, for the foreign loans, environment, and then election funding. So that's the story. While I also felt, and that's what Senate President Saraki has also said, that they were more interested in the removal of the Senate President or leadership of the National Assembly, as well as the issue of determining who is majority party. Interesting thing now is that the National Assembly has decided to reconvene on Wednesday. But that doesn't end it. The more interesting part of the story for me is that they are not reconvening to sit at two separate houses. They're actually reconvening just to do a joint sitting.
Right.
So what makes it interesting there is that as a joint sitting, they can take the decisions regarding budgets, regarding the election funding, but they cannot, as a joint sitting, except I'm wrong, take a decision. They can. They can.
They cannot.
Yeah. So I don't like to sound very.
Yes. No, it's illegal. It's a legal way.
They cannot.
Hedge your bets.
I do not see them sitting as a joint sitting to take a decision to remove a Senate President or a House of Reps Speaker, because the constitution is clear that to remove a Speaker or House of Reps Speaker or Senate President, you need two-third majority of that House.
So I'm very interested. How often do they tend to have these joint sittings? I'm curious because
there's not necessarily. There's no. How often? Okay, when important things come up, there's no.
Well, shouldn't important things be up all the time, like things like our budget? Because I'm just sitting going, wow. So this is a possible thing to do to speed up the process. Yet we keep hearing about this. This house sat and they passed on to it.
It's not important.
Okay, as far as they're concerned, is that what you're saying?
Truly, their priorities don't coincide with us. We know that. So whenever they take anything serious,
then they all show up in force.
Something that affects them. But they said they couldn't sit because there were stories that were going to reconvene today, Tuesday, but they said because they needed some time to give their members who were out of the country. Interesting. They need time to get them back to the country.
Wow.
They also need to contact them individually. So, they say they're going to reconvene for this purpose. So hopefully that would obviate the need for them to sit again. So they will now go back for another recess until maybe towards the end of September. It's all right.
Okay. Well, let's see where that leads to. We still have that platform. Going to our next story. This one comes to you, Cheta. It says, court restrains new Benue Speaker. Others from parading themselves from sitting. And, the story goes thus. Makurdi High Court on Monday restrained the new Speaker, Taito Suba, and other principal officers of the Benue House of Assembly from parading themselves and sitting in the State Assembly complex. Sounds complex.
Not so really complex. It's just basically the I don't know if to call him former speaker and his deputy James Okefe took the title super to court on top of this matter. Two members of the 30-man House of Assembly followed or preceded the governor to defect from APC to PDP. So the Kimbi Kiangi and the Deputy James Kefe and the Majority Leader Ben Adai refused to defect. They remained in APC, and when those other guys defected, they adjourned the House sitting until August 15, which happens to be tomorrow. That happens, the governor himself, who, for the record, cannot be said enough, he's a useless governor.
In your opinion?
He hasn't paid salaries for at least.
No, it's okay. It's your opinion. Some people feel that he's
opinion.
fantastic, but okay.
If they don't pay
clearly, so again,
anyway,
that's your opinion.
When he defected, the 8 members who had remained in APC, including Ikiangian, they were the ones who went to the house to try to, but the problem was that they couldn't get up to 10 signatures to get the them, and the whole thing is just a mess. Now the thing has gone to court. So the 8 who didn't defect have been impeached or have been counter-impeached. I don't know how to put it. While the 22 who defected have just been told by the court that no, you are not yet. Wait until we determine. It's just, again, it's all political theater. I think that the governor should be impeached, but the reason that they're advancing for trying to impeach him now is not because of, it's not the reason that he should be. His stewardship has just been dire, and well, that's the way the cookie crumbles around here. Politics, not service.
All right, let's see if I can take a couple of messages before we move on to our next story. Am I from Akoka sending this one, who says, not to support it, but vote buying has been around for a long time, and the blatant and brazen manner in which it happened during the last Ekiti Guber polls was the height. INEC will be up against some powerful but unscrupulous elements who don't necessarily want to rig the elections, but sway the electorates with cash. While we got another user who sent in this message to see that the issue is that the voter has already exercised his franchise before being paid, according to Cheta's explanation of how the vote buying works. So how can we call this vote buying? It should be seen as a reward for voting. Just go vote as you please anyways. While
this thing, when you go to the market to buy fish, you
collect the fish.
you collect the fish
And
first
then you
and
pay.
for it.
and then Afiz Ojolakwe says up on WhatsApp, the easiest way of discouraging
Okay, so moving to our next story. This one from the Punch newspaper. No weapon, no money. House says the DSS, and well, it comes to you,
Fred.
Excuse me. The Department of State Service has denied the rumors making rounds that a huge sum of money and weapons were found in the house of its sacked Director General, Mr. Daura. The service said that the rumor emanated from some fake videos, which it circulated, which it said was circulated as being the outcome of such or a search allegedly carried out in Daura's house. What are your thoughts about this, Fred?
So a couple of things are running through my mind. This is DSS, so they should be able to get the information on who's actually spreading this fake information and talk about it if it's fake according to them, right? And so we should be everyone should be putting out their jokers and their ace cards on how to sway information on what the federal government is doing or what's effective right now. So that's basically where my thoughts are on this.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Fred. Cheta, you want to chip in there?
Not really. I mean, the EFCC probably leaked. It's kind of like that rather interesting letter that was leaked last week with cracked operatives. So it's probably leaked by the police. See, what worries me about all these things is the fact that our security services and our official services clearly leak like sieves. Things happen, and before you know it, it's all over WhatsApp. Or do we say WhatsApp?
No, don't say what. No, Cheta.
Of all these leaks just shows a lack of cohesion. It tells you that different interests are all over the place fighting for whatever it is, and that's a problem.
When we don't know who the SSS, well, they call themselves DSS, who they work for, whether they work for the Senate President or the President, what do you expect?
When do you believe that story?
On that note, let's carry on because we do have messages coming through.
Second Niger Bridge to you.
Thank you. We've got messages coming through. Up on Twitter, Damola Giwa says the problem of vote buying is impunity. People are stuck on this. That if we enforce the law and introduce without the premium times, now this is a little bit cloak and dagger. Is the way to put across. But Saraki in closed door meeting with Obasanjo. Now the story does tell us that not only did he head over to Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, he also did pay a visit to former military ruler Ibrahim Babangida as well in the latter's home in Minna in Niger State. Clearly the Shund almost feels like campaigning. But Cheta, what are your thoughts on this and what do you think these meetings mean?
Our meeting was last Wednesday, almost a week ago today. What I found interesting in this story was this phrase when Saraki came out and his special advisor on media and publicity, Yusuf Olaniyo. Is it Olaniyo? No?
Olaniyo. But that's it.
Yoruba is a hard language. He was told to. He was asked what they talked about. And he said, "No, Saraki just came to visit the presidential library." He spent truckloads of money already, and then you have one. So you have these 6 guys. They have to come out in a way that put the 6 of them in a room, and they come out, and the remaining 5 that step down are.
What are the odds? The story here is that the lawyer for their lawyer applied for although it was opposed. Like some,
well, perhaps they had been charged previously, because let's note that they were arraigned on this particular occasion on the 1st of August. So if this is the case,
2018. So on Monday was bail. So they were arraigned on this August bail.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with the charge. See, that's one thing our security agencies need to learn and learn very well. Did one offense, or may have committed, and isolate particularly those low-hanging fruits, so to say, and then charge for them. It's simple and sweet. Handle class sum. All they need to do is just go straight, convict those people, and then they would have a conviction. So they need not charge them. Even saying that they should point out in 2019 to say, look at those who did it in 2015, they were convicted, so that INEC officials going into the new elections will be careful.
Right. All right. Very interesting. And let's move on to story. This one is in from the Vanguard newspaper. It's dealing with differently abled people. Lagos state government has introduced sign language into banks, hospitals, and police stations as part of measures to aid effective communication in this across, and it's the Commissioner for Youth and Social Development, Agbola Debri, that mentioned this. Now, what are your thoughts on this, Fred?
I think it's a really good thing because the six I saw, we have over 8.5 million people that are impaired, actually hearing impairment, so it's probably far over that. And it also shows that we're kind of really starting to develop or wanting to develop like other developing or developed economies when we start considering all the other groups or segments of people in the economy and realize
that you mentioned in the economy, because they are a viable part of the economy. And let's be honest, if we're not just looking at visual or hearing impairment, let's also consider physical differences. Most buildings in Lagos aren't even wheelchair accessible, and that's a massive proportion of our economy and our electorate that we're considering, and that is of some sort of impact. Do you think it's had perhaps on the business life of Lagosians as well, the fact that there's so many places that are inaccessible or not hospitable to people who are differently abled?
Because generally when we think about disabled people, we're thinking like they're usually asking for arms, and we don't see them that they could either be converted into productive citizens. So from that general school of thought, we don't see them as like they would be adding to the economy. But I agree with you. I lived in America for a while, so you can't go anywhere, especially federal or state-owned or government-owned properties without consideration for the disabled or the physically challenged, right, or impaired citizens. So the good sign. This just shows that we usually don't give a lot of credit to the government when they're going in the right direction, because we want to see like lips and bounds of these things happening. So it's a good thing. Let's commend them for everyone thinking in this direction.
And let's hope that private institutions, of which make up again the majority of our, well, not the majority, but a very strong part of our working force, also take this on board and make these possible in their different businesses. And we do have messages though that we will be rounding up with this morning, so let's get back into them.
This one says, even if politicians buy votes or bribe voters in an election, are they capable of to bribe scrupulous party agents? Good election results, good voting from all eligible. This is Babajide Lansing.
Very interesting. Well, we've got Ifoma A from Maryland, who says, INEC is a little sad and really can't promise anything at all. No money to set up, no bright ideas to enable people actually register, fictitious registration centers too. Now, if they aren't prepared to work into the night or do something exceptional, then this registration exercise is unsuccessful and extremely flawed. I have my PVC, but it took all of 3 days to get it, and several people were turned back. Now, INEC's job may not be easy, but it certainly isn't impossible. Thank you. Very true. And quite a few people that sent in very similar messages to this as well. A number of people saying that they're currently at voting centers and they still are being asked to pay about 2,000 naira to put their name on a list. Everyone knowing that the deadline is approaching. We still got more messages though.
Saraki visiting Babangida and Obasanjo. Let's let him continue as we sit down and watch his next move. And this is Tony from Iowa. He also further says, have you considered the fact that INEC as a body were not ready with their budget as at when the president was submitting other budgets? Even with the president, even with that, the president submitted the INEC budget a week before the Senate went on recess. And I ask, why didn't the National Assembly consider it before running out on recess?
Interesting.
Because they cut short their recess, they cut short their session because of that last. Remember when they acted James Bond in front of Saraki's house? He did who didn't
That's exactly what.
middle of the Senate floor. They were still supposed to have one more session after that, but as he appeared through the walls, called a break.
All right, and then we've got Kenny Etsuge just to round up the messages. He says, vote buying is the only promise that Nigerian politicians have kept. Take care of poverty and people will stop selling their souls. Harsh words, harsh words. On that note, we are done for this morning. A big thank you to our analysts. Please find them up on social media, and you can continue the conversation there where we've tweeted the headlines for this morning. And of course, we will be going into deeper conversation into one of these and opening up our phone lines for you as well as our chat lines. So get ready at 9 o'clock to discuss more. But coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll be switching lanes and talking entertainment inside of the Grapevine. Keep listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Thank you, guys.
Anything for you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So kind.